This is Building Humans, sponsored by Al Mahaba Foundation and Dar Al Kalima Publishing. Welcome back to another deep dive. Today, we're going to try and solve a very specific kind of guilt. You know the kind I'm talking about.
I have a feeling I know exactly the kind. It is the 3.0 AM variety?
It is always the 3.0 AM variety. It's that feeling, when you can't sleep and you hear the refrigerator humming, maybe a car alarm goes off a few blocks away, and you just feel wrong. You feel like, man, humans have we've really messed this whole planet up. We have this deep, almost instinctive belief that all this, the concrete, the wires, the noise is fake.
And that the real life is somewhere else.
Exactly. Out there in a forest somewhere, listening to a waterfall, we've got this civilizational guilt.
It's classic modern anxiety, isn't it? We feel like intruders on our own planet. We look at a city and see a scar, and we look at a forest and see purity.
Right. We feel like it's all a mistake, a deviation. But today, we're looking at a stack of research, specifically Maria Montessori's Education and Peace, that argues the complete opposite. And honestly, it's a little jarring at first.
It's radical, because Montessori doesn't just say civilization is okay. She argues that civilization, the cities, the technology, the machines, is actually supernature.
Supernature. Okay, I have to stop you right there. That sounds like a sci-fi movie title. It also sounds like a massive cop-out, calling a skyscraper supernature. Isn't that just trying to make ourselves feel better about paving over paradise?
I get the skepticism. It feels completely contradictory. But let's just zoom out for a second. Way out. If you were an alien observing Earth and you looked at, say, a coral reef, what would you see?
I'd see a massive structure under the water. Hard, rock-like complex.
Right. And that structure was built by billions of tiny living organisms, polyps working together. They build a structure to live in. Now look at a termite mound. An architectural marvel, right? Complete with ventilation systems. Do we look at that and say, oh, how artificial?
No, of course not. We say, wow, look at biology in action. We call it nature.
Precisely. So here's the uncomfortable question. Why is it that when humans, who are also biological organisms, use our specific biological gift, our intellect, to build a structure, we suddenly call it artificial?
That is actually a really good point. I've never thought about it like that. We sort of exempt ourselves from the animal kingdom.
We do. But Montessori argues we aren't separate. There's a difference, though. Animals adapt to nature. A polar bear grows thick fur. But humans, we have a different cosmic task.
Cosmic task.
We don't wait for fur to grow. We build a shelter. We weave fabric. We harness fire. We don't just adapt to nature. We create a second nature on top of the raw earth. And that is supernature. It's not a rejection of biology. It's the ultimate expression of human biology.
So the city isn't a scar. It's a human coral reef.
It's the physical manifestation of our intelligence interacting with the planet. And to build this supernature, we had to do something no other species has done. We had to tame the giants.
The giants. Okay, now we are definitely in sci-fi territory. Who are the giants?
It's a beautiful metaphor she uses. The giants are the hidden forces of the universe. Steam, electricity, atomic energy, gravity. For most of history, these were terrifying, invisible monsters.
Right, lightning was the wrath of the gods.
Exactly, fire was a destroyer. But through our intellect, we wrestled these giants into submission. We put them to work.
We put them to work.
We did. We took the explosive power of steam and made it pull trains across continents. We took the lethal power of lightning electricity and made it light up our living room so we could read a book at night. This is the essence of supernature.
That does change the perspective. Instead of feeling guilty for turning on a light switch, you see it as, well, as holding a leash on a giant. It makes the modern world feel much more epic and much less like a mistake. But I have to play devil's advocate again.
Please do.
Okay, so we tamed the giants. We built supernature. We have iPhones and air travel. But has it actually made us better? Because looking at the news, it doesn't really seem like this supernature has created a paradise.
And that is the absolute crux of the problem. But before we get to the failure, we have to understand what supernature actually did to the human species. Physically, it didn't just give us comfort, it fundamentally changed our biological status. It created what Montessori calls the single nation.
The single nation. Is she talking about a political thing? Like a one-world government?
No, and this is where people get confused. She isn't talking about politics or treaties. She's talking about biological reality. Think back to, say, the year 1500. If there was a huge famine in China, did a blacksmith in France feel it?
No, he wouldn't even know about it. He'd live his whole life and never know that place existed.
Right. Humanity was a collection of isolated pockets, like separate puddles of water. But supernature, the shipping, The cables, the internet, it's connected those puddles into a single ocean. Today, humanity acts like a single biological organism.
Like a single body.
Exactly. Think of it medically. If you get an infection in your toe, your whole body
I can't.
reacts, right? Your brain knows, your heart rate changes.
Your temperature rises, the whole system is on alert.
Now look at our world. A virus emerges in a remote province, and within weeks, the streets in New York are empty. A bank collapses in Silicon Valley, and businesses in Switzerland start to shutter,
A ship gets stuck in a canal.
and factories in Detroit shut down. We've seen it happen. Isolation is not possible anymore. No nation can truly say, I will be independent. It's a delusion. We are physically, economically, and biologically fused. We are the single nation.
It's so interesting because we always hear about globalization in economic terms, but you're saying it's an evolutionary step. We're literally interconnected.
For our very survival. And yet, and here's the tragedy, we don't feel it.
What do you mean we don't feel it?
We have the physical wiring, but we're missing the spiritual connection. We're a single body, but we don't acknowledge the other limbs. Montessori uses two really powerful figures to explain this, the baker and the miner.
The baker and the miner sounds like a fable.
It's a fable of modern life. Think about your breakfast this morning. You had toast.
I did, yeah. Sourdough.
Good choice. And if you're a grateful person, you might take a second to think about the baker. Imagine a warm bakery, the smell of yeast. It's a nice personal connection.
Sure, I can picture that.
But the baker can't bake without an oven. And the oven is made of steel. And it's powered by coal or gas. Where do those come from?
From the earth?
They come from the miner. Far away from that cozy bakery, there was a person descending into the dark, breathing in dust that could kill them. Facing the constant danger of collapse, miles away from the sun.
That's a heavy image.
It is. Because without that miner in the dark, the baker has no oven. And you have no toast. That miner, who you will never meet, who you will likely never think about once, is literally feeding you. And it's not just him. It's the sailor on the ship, the engineer at the power plant.
That's an invisible web.
It is the circulatory system of the single nation. We are kept alive by the labor of millions of strangers we just ignore.
That makes me feel incredibly ungrateful. I don't think about the miner. I barely think about the baker. I just eat the toast.
And that's what Montessori calls the moral gap, our greatest crisis. We feast on the labor of the single nation, but we treat the laborers like they don't exist. We're physically united, but spiritually, we are estranged.
So we're using the infrastructure of Supernature with a really outdated mindset.
Exactly. And this leads us to the most dangerous concept in this entire deep dive. That's why this isn't just sad, but existential. She calls our situation the palace on a volcano.
Okay, that is an evocative image. The palace on a volcano, what does that mean?
Imagine we've built this magnificent palace. This is our Supernature. It has golden towers, miracle medicine, instant communication. A structure of godlike power.
Okay, sounds like a nice place to live.
It is, but who lives in the palace? Who are we, spiritually, morally?
I see where you're going. We're the same people who were throwing rocks at each other a few thousand years ago.
Yeah, correct. We inhabit this high-tech palace with the spirit of the savage. This is what she calls moral schizophrenia. There's a terrifying gap between our power and our conscience. The house is from the 21st century, but the inhabitant is archaic, still obsessed with borders, with tribal wars, with greed.
That explains the news, doesn't it? We have these incredible Supernature tools, cyber warfare, stealth bombers, but we use them for the same old medieval reasons. Land, pride, hate.
We have atomic weapons, the ultimate power of the giants, but we handle them with the emotional maturity of a toddler throwing a tantrum. And that is the volcano. The volcano isn't nature. The volcano is us. It's our own unevolved spirit. If we don't evolve to match the world we built, the palace will collapse.
It feels like we focus so much on the external stuff, the gadgets, the economy, that we forgot something.
You forgot the human. Montessori calls us the forgotten citizen. We spent centuries perfecting the machine, but we forgot to build the builder. We upgraded the hardware to version 10.0, but left the human software on version 1.0.
This is genuinely scary because you can't just patch human nature. So what's the solution? Do we, I don't know, smash the machines, move to the woods?
Montessori is adamant on this. No, regression is not the answer. You can't uninvent Supernature. You can't put the giants back in the bottle. The only path is forward. The answer is adaptation.
Adaptation. But biological adaptation takes millions of years. We don't have that kind of time if we're sitting on a volcano.
We don't. So we have to turn to the only mechanism we have for rapid adaptation: education.
Right.
But, and this is critical, not the education we have now.
Right, because sitting in rows memorizing dates doesn't seem to be stopping any wars.
Precisely. That education was designed for an old world. We need an education that produces a new man, a human being capable of managing supernature, a universal citizen.
A universal citizen. What does that curriculum even look like? Is it just more world history and ethics?
It starts much, much earlier. It starts with your toast. It is a curriculum of gratitude. Instead of fearing technology or taking it for granted, children must be taught the responsibility of it.
Okay, give me a concrete example. How do you teach a 6-year-old that?
When a child pushes a button, say, to turn on the lights, it can't just be magic. They shouldn't just think, I push, light happens. They need to be taught the history of that light. They need to visualize the copper wires stretching across the land. They need to understand the labor of the engineer, the miner.
So you humanize the button.
You humanize the connection. You teach them that the button is a handshake with millions of other humans, that their comfort is purchased with the effort of others. The goal is to create a person who understands, intuitively, that their personal welfare is tied to the welfare of a child on the other side of the world.
Moving from I'm independent to I am a cell in the single nation.
Yes. And honestly, Montessori believes that adults, well, we're often too far gone, too cemented in our prejudices. Our software is buggy. She looks at the child. She uses a term that might sound shocking. She calls the child messiah.
Whoa, child messiah. That sounds heavy. Is she getting religious here?
It sounds religious, but she's using it in a secular, almost biological sense. She means the child is the savior of the species, because the child is the only fresh start we get. They're born without hate, without borders in their heads. They are a spiritual embryo.
A spiritual embryo, meaning they're still forming?
Their spirit is soft, malleable, ready to be shaped. If we can just protect their development, raise them with this consciousness of unity, what she calls the science of peace, they can grow into the giants this supernature requires. They can be the ones to stabilize the palace.
So the children are the software update we've been waiting for.
They could be. But what do? We take these fresh, capable new men and we force them into the old molds. We teach them to be tribal, to compete, that the aim of life is to get more than your neighbor.
We corrupt the file before it's even installed.
We do. We take the potential for peace and we mold it for war.
So our mission, our cosmic task as parents, as educators, is to stop getting in their way, to stop infecting them with our old viruses.
It's to aid them, to give them the context of the supernature they live in, to tell them, look, you are powerful. You have the hands of giants. You can fly. Now you must develop the heart of a giant to match.
Develop the heart of a giant to match the hands of a giant. That is profound. It puts parenting into a whole new focus. It's not just about getting them into a good college. It's about keeping the palace from collapsing on all of us.
Precisely. Education isn't just a ladder for personal success. It is the weapon of peace.
You know, usually when we talk about this stuff, technology, the state of the world, I end up feeling depressed, helpless.
Yeah.
But this actually makes me feel empowered. We built this world. It's not a mistake. We're not a virus. We just have some serious growing up to do.
That is the core message. Don't curse the technology. The supernature is our creation, a testament to the human spirit. But it is a test.
A test.
A test of whether our wisdom can catch up to our intelligence.
So, to everyone listening, the next time you're awake at 3 a.m., maybe stop feeling guilty about the hum of the refrigerator. You're looking at supernature, the work of the single nation. The challenge now is to raise children whose spirits are as tall as those skyscrapers.
And who can see the invisible threads connecting them to the miner, the baker, and the child across the ocean.
This has been fascinating, but there's a darker side to how we're currently failing. We hinted at it, the way we corrupt that spiritual embryo.
Unfortunately, yes. We have the potential for what she calls the complete human, but our current systems are producing mutilated men.
Mutilated men, that sounds intense.
It's the result of an education that ignores the spirit. And that is exactly what we're going to dive into in our next episode, episode 14. The specific failures of schools and the path to the complete human. You do not want to miss that.
If you want to get ahead and dive deeper into these concepts, and I highly recommend it, the detail in the text is incredible. The book is available at Dar al-Khalima Publishing. Go pick it up. It's basically a manual for saving the future.
It is essential reading.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through Supernature. Remember our mission, today and every day.
Love for all, service for everyone.
See you in the next deep dive.